If you would have asked me just a mere 3 months ago whether I considered myself a leader, I would have to say no. And that no would probably be followed by a lot of pointing and laughing on how you would ever have thought of me as a leader. A leader is supposed to be this organized and charismatic and just motivational person who is just the best problem solver you have ever met. And I just never could have seen myself in that position. But come this past 3 months, where I've gained knowledge from Lead 209 and just copious amounts of time of self reflection over quarantine, I found myself wondering, yeah, I do show these things. Why have I never given myself credit for them? Why have I never saw the self importance of it? Why did I never accept being a leader? Especially when it became to myself. So this begs the question, what happens when you are the most stubborn teammate on your team? Hi, my name is Gavin Sanz, and I'm still learning on how to be a leader. Not to anyone else, but to myself. This is really weird coming from a person who's been a role model for their younger brothers from their day one to even now when they're 18. And even the fact that I've been the dad friend to all my friends since high school. I've always been that person that someone comes to console when they need help, or let it be something broke and they need help fixing it, to Gabs, I feel like my heart's broke. I've always been the person who called the shots and was the one organizing get-togethers between friends and even communicating to others when there was miscommunications. So how could I not consider myself a leader? Well, this all goes back to, well, where every underdog story starts, middle school. And more importantly, it involves a bully. But this is not your normal Disney Channel story, because it wasn't the bullying that made me insecure. It wasn't the bullying that made me start thinking these things. It wasn't the bullying that caused me to act out the way I have. But it was the start. It was the start of when I realized that I didn't necessarily think of myself very highly. My self-esteem was very low. There was this guy who would make jokes about my body and would make comments about what he thought was my sexuality and even things about gender and sex. And it was, although unnerving, it never got to me because I accepted them. I said, yeah, okay, that's right. I never thought of myself very highly. And then you fast forward to a place like high school. High school was a completely different experience than middle school. High school was about getting to know people that were just like you, and I was very fortunate enough to find a friend group that I could trust and ended up being some of the closest people I am with even today. I found people that called me Dad Gab because apparently when you're 2 months older than the rest of your friend group, you become the elder, and that means you are the one that they go to for advice, and you're the one that they ask, Gabs, how do I fix this fan? I broke it. I was the one that my friends went to. And it made me feel important. It made me feel wanted, and it was something that I started to get very attached to very quickly. And in theater tech, I was quite literally given the title of head of tech, mostly because I was the light director and there's only one of them, so I guess instead of picking and choosing who on the stage crew would get it, I did. But even then, I didn't quite believe that it was deserved. I felt like my group or team of people were all leaders in of their own space. And this is just one example of a time that I was quite literally given the title of leader and still didn't accept it. people told me that I was a leader to them and I didn't accept it. Why? Then came something that has struck me and has lasted very long in my own heart. Was when a younger student who was a freshman when I was a junior came up to me and said that I was the inspiration for them to, for lack of better words, go against the norms. She came up to me saying that I inspired her to be able to express herself in a way that she felt most comfortable. You know, I've poked fun at St. Mark's a lot during class, but a part of that is because they didn't necessarily see me as an equal. They saw me as someone who was trying to cause a lot of unnecessary debacle. And this girl also was caught up in that. And she saw me as this leader and this inspiration to keep being herself. And even to this day, it lasts with me to know that someone saw me in that light. During my time in high school, I was also considered a leader in this way because, again, I was going against the norms, and that was the biggest movement that has ever happened probably in a Catholic high school, was that I refused. That's all I did. And people saw me as this changing figure and this high standing individual that was trying to create a better world, you know, just like how the mantra said. And I just never saw myself as that. I didn't see myself as anyone other than just Gab trying to be Gab. I was just trying to be myself, and I didn't want to cause as much commotion as I ended up doing, but it was all in the name of, well, living. I just wanted to be myself and authentically myself. But some people would see that as bad. But anywho, the thing about high school is that it goes. And 4 years only lasts 4 years, and all of a sudden you're going to your junior prom, and then homecoming, and then your senior prom, and then you're at graduation. The minute that you decide that you are no longer a part of this school, but even more so, it's the moment that you realize that the friends you have made all this long are also leaving. Remember how I mentioned how I was thriving on the thought of being wanted and feeling relevant within my friend group? That was all going to go away in a matter of 2 months when everyone moved. I was the only one who stayed here at UD. Well, University of Delaware I went to, but I was the only one who stayed here in Delaware. All my friends were very smart and were able to move pretty far away. And even now, I think back and I'm like, wow, that's a crazy change. But it didn't hit me as hard until my first semester when I started to make these friends who I adored. I loved my friends that I made my first semester in college. And I was doing amazing in classes. So this was an amazing escape from the idea that I had just lost 4 or 5 of the best people I've ever met. But I'm doing so well, and I've met so many great new people. And then the second semester hit, and I was doing a little bit worse, but it's okay because I still had my friends. And then the second year came around, I wasn't doing so good. And I realized that the friends I had made were really empty. It didn't feel the same. And I didn't feel that I was as important to them as I may have wanted them to want me. I wasn't needed anymore, if that makes any sense. This was the start of what I like to call the second spiral. This is the part that got so dark in my life that it led to a lot of weird twists and turns. But mostly, it led to me contemplating suicide. And it's been years since that has ever happened, but at that moment I realized that no, this can't be it. This can't be the way I go out. This can't be the way, I can't live this way healthily. I wasn't even eating right. I wasn't eating right. I was eating so much and then I wasn't eating any. Something so mental was affecting my physical body as well, and I couldn't do it. I mentally just could not handle this, and I realized at this point that I needed to pull up my bootstraps and be a leader to myself that I would have been to anyone else who was in my situation. If any of my friends had said this, I would have been up in arms and trying my best to give them resources, but yet I wasn't doing this until the very, very deepest part of all of this. When I was at the bottom, I was at rock bottom, that's when I chose to do this. At any point, there were so many red flags going up into this, but it wasn't until then that I was like, this is it. This is the moment that I need to change something. And I have. In the past year, I've reached out to many counselors and have even sought out therapy after calling it snake oil for about 5 years. I've also become more open to people and talking about my mental health and how I'm truly feeling. It's kind of odd coming from a family who doesn't really do the best with the idea of therapy and all that, but I'm making it work. I'm getting used to asking for help. I'm getting used to wanting a team. And in a way, I'm getting used to myself as being a leader, not only to others, but to myself. Thank you for watching.